Hello, hello. Is this thing on? Today I'm starting a couple of minutes early just because time zones are an illusion and we can do whatever we want with it. So, welcome to the Ham2K chats live stream. And today I invited a couple of interesting people. And I mean, I'll say it up front. I did not invite them today because they gave me an award, but today it was announced that Ham2K Polo won the Amateur Radio Software Award for 2025, and that's really a huge honor for me. And I decided to invite Claus, Kuhn, and Rich, who are the committee behind the award. Rich cannot join us today, but Klaus and Kuhn are here with us, and I want them to introduce themselves. I'll say, Klaus, go ahead first if you want. Um, who are you? How do you end up being a ham? What's your favorite part of being a ham?
I'm Klaus Niesen. I originally born in Germany and grew up in Germany, and I was a foreign exchange student in the US and decided to come back to the US to do my university degree, college degree. And while doing so, I met my wife, and so I got stuck here in the States. So since then, I'm here. Amateur radio, it kind of started fairly late for me. A little bit on the history is as a kid, I did actually get into CB radio in Germany a bit and communicated there. And what I really enjoyed there was on AM, CB AM, where we could do DXs. And Germany being much smaller in Europe, it's much easier to do DXs. And so there it was driving up with the car up a hill, and then on a good day and talking to Great Britain, England.
Yeah.
That was kind of the DX for us. So that was kind of neat. So in the US, I didn't get into amateur radio until 2016, December 2016. And that came about, I was once sick and I was playing around with electronics. I'm always interested in electronics. And so I came across SDR and things like that. And then I saw the amateur radio license, the technician license, and looked into that and found that something that I could do. And so I ended up taking studying for that exam while I was sick. And then passed it and then went on getting the general and the extra license as well. Primarily on the extra because I don't want to remember where the band cuts off. So I can just tune and I'm never outside of the band. So mouse mod is not something for me.
Yeah. No, that I get that. I went to extra too a little bit because of that. I started getting to contesting a little bit, and not having access to the full band was a big impediment. And now it's like, but I the other day I was thinking that Polo should have a guide that tells you where the band limits are, especially because you don't, when you're doing POTA, you don't want to set up in the extra part of a band because there's fewer people who can work you there. And the other day I was working, I'm like, okay, where is this again on 14 meters? Is it 14,175, 14,215? I couldn't remember it. So I need to add it to Polo. Kuhn, November 7 DMR. Is the DMR for digital radio or yeah?
Yes. Yeah, this is Kuhn. And I think I get my license sometime around the same 2016-17 area as Klaus. So I mean, like, I heard of the amateur radio since kids, but I never really have a chance to look into it. It's just like in my background, like, oh, I know lots of things. Maybe something very interesting. Like I have some toys about it, like those kids walkie-talkie thing. But then like it's about like 2016, 17. Around like I don't remember exactly which year it is, but like there was a hand club putting up exam sessions right near me, so I go in, take the exam, and get my call sign. And then like, oh, okay, And then I get started onto the ham radio things. And one of the very interesting thing early on get me onto the digital communications is the WingLink. And then I realized, oh, there is a lot of fun things you can do with the digital communications, and yeah, DMR is one of it. So but that's mostly for voice and all the very interesting different formats of the communications, like how you can get a signal over at such a low, like such a even like below the noise floor. That's something very interesting to me. So that's where I get into my communication, and then get on to the extra. But that was just like, if I can get extra, why not? Like, it's not that much difficult to do. Just spend some time, read some books, and take the exam, right? So that's my brief journey on my ham radio journeys.
And there's also Rich Gordon, Kilo Zero Echo Bravo, who's going to join us today, but had a last minute schedule conflict, sadly. But so the three of you are the committee behind the Amateur Radio Software Award. Can you tell me? I mean, who can tell me how it got started? What was the?
It's an interesting story. I kind of thought about the software in amateur radio. Often the software is free for the community, that I always saw, but as it ages, the software isn't open. So even though you give out the software, it kind of dies off because it's not being supported by the original writer, or they pass away or so. And there's a lot of old software that still has been used, or is still being used actually, that the source code isn't open and it's kind of really stale. And I'm coming from a software development background, like all three of us here. So I always was fascinated and very interested in open source and working in the open source community. I do a tiny bit in there, nothing significant, but so I kind of was thinking how to encourage making not just the software free, but open source. So it's not, while you still continue giving back to the community, the free software, you also don't make it reliant totally on yourself, but other people can take it over in case you lose the interest in it, or potentially even if they have some suggestions on it.
No, I mean, I made Polo open source, because I believe in open source and I wanted to contribute back and all of that, but also it's a way to keep me honest. It's like, if I get lazy and or I get bored and move on to other things, the app is there for anyone else to pick it up and continue it. It's like I'm not saying I don't intend to even make money with Polo, but I think I can do it with an open source project just the same. It doesn't have to be closed to be a successful commercial project even. But that by making it open, a lot of people have been burned by abandonware. And this ensures that, it doesn't ensure, but it makes it a lot harder for it to be abandoned altogether. Here in the chat is Steve, M1SDH from England, who's actually one of the biggest contributors to Polo after me. He's been working on he's been able to add all of the support for bunkers in the air, castles in the air, on the air, all those programs that are more popular in Europe than the US, that I don't understand enough to implement their support in Polo. And he came in and added it, and is basically, when someone now comes saying, hey, I want to add support for this other program, I say, go talk to Steve. He can help you and get it up and running. And what you were saying about a lot of the apps being free but closed, it's really that at times it even bothers me. There's many very popular apps that are good, but I would like to help fix one thing here, one thing there, even if it's a typo. But when you go try to see, some of them are even quote unquote open source, but the source is not accessible. The team is very close knit, and like you kind of have to ask for permission to get the source and convince them that you're worthy to let you contribute back. And it really that bothers me when I run into that. It's really discouraging, and I really was very happy when I saw the Amateur Radio Software Award. I first heard about it when you awarded it a couple of years ago to Grid Tracker, because I've been contributing to that project for a while, and I actually learned a lot about how to run an open source project by how Steven Tag runs Grid Tracker. When I first contributed, Grid Tracker was not yet fully open source, but it was the way the app was built. You can kind of get to the JavaScript source and do a couple of changes. And as soon as I wrote to Steve saying, "Hey, I have these changes," he said, "Oh, I was waiting to open source it," and the next day it was on GitLab. And anytime somebody came and had a contribution, an idea or something, the first thing he did was open the doors, like add him to the like private Discord for developers. Like it's like as soon as you do the most small contribution, you're considered a full member of the team and welcomed in. There's no gatekeeping. There's no sense of you have to prove yourself before you make it in and start contributing. It's like you contribute first, and then you're part of the team. That's it. You don't need to prove anything other than that first contribution. And even if it's incomplete, we will help you make it solid and make it complete and make it work with the app. I think that's and I learned that from Tag. That was fantastic. And that's when I learned about the award a couple of years ago. I don't know, Kun, if you wanted to say something about the award.
I started off discussing about that on Reddit, and that's where Kun came, and I met Kun at that point. So go ahead.
Mm-hmm. So it was a Reddit thread.
Yes. So originally I saw Claus posted on Reddit and Amateur Radio subreddit asking about proposing about starting this award. So I feel I'm very interested in joining. So I contact Claus. So that's how we initiated this award back at what year it is?
2020.
2020, right?
Yeah.
I think we started 2019 probably.
Oh yeah.
The first award was in 2020. So
yeah, we started in 2019, but the first award we awarded is in 2020, and then I think Rich joined a year later. And I think originally what I'm thought about like why I joined is like I really want to. When I started playing, especially on the digital side of the amateur radio, I see a lot of great softwares. However, like you can see, it was like the project has been going on for 10, 20 years, but it's still kind of like a personal hobby project and like one-person project.
Mm-hmm.
There's not any proper setup on licensing. There's not any proper setup on contribution structures or governance structures. So like I think through this, maybe we can also bring the awareness and bring a promotion onto the proper setup of like open source structures and contributing structures, so that the project can keep going and then can outlive one single person and to continue to be a great project. I have seen so many great projects, and I would hate to see it go away, right? That's how my original idea in joining this award and promote the open source into the ham community.
That's great. And have you seen? I mean, have you felt a change in the last 5 years on the open source software? I mean, I'm definitely glad to see more people using GitHub or GitLab instead of SourceForge, because SourceForge makes it very easy, very hard to contribute back. It's like it's definitely not meant to be, or I mean, when it started, it was the state of the art in open source collaboration, but it really hasn't kept up with the times that that you see, the kind of features you see on GitLab or GitHub to do pull requests and forks and contribute. The I don't know, how many projects do you guys look at every year?
Quite a few. It's north of 10. I know that. I haven't counted them.
I think we generally receive like at least 10 to 15 nominations from the public. And then I think Claus will like do a first round of vettings, make sure they are indeed open source and have a licensing that's considered open source. And then like also like if that one has been like consolidate any duplications, and then we meet and discuss and do some more research onto each of the projects that's on our short list, and then we come up like one project that all three of us can agree on to give the award to. That's generally our deliberation process.
That's great. And I really love the idea of highlighting open source projects and trying to encourage people to do more open work. As I was saying that, it makes me think that maybe we should start an effort to try to educate older developers on how to better open their projects. Although I don't know, ham radio, for a hobby about technical innovation, and I'm not immune to this, but we all tend to be of the mood of if it's already working, why improve it? Like, I got it. Why do I need to? I got it to work fine. Why do I need to change it? And that's why you have people running their setups on Windows 7 or doing things like the. It's hard to convince somebody that has a project that's already popular or working to change their ways. But I don't know. I think that it would be good to try to do an effort on that front. I don't know exactly how to go about it, but there's one of my favorite projects, which is dxlog.net, is a contest logger. Was the developer passed away and someone else picked it up, but the project is not open source. It's half closed, and it was a friend, I guess, of the developer that kind of like got access to the source and took it over. But I guess that if it had been open source, it would have been a lot easier to continue it. And it's like how to convince developers to consider that. And I don't know what the answer is, but I think I'm gonna try every time I speak with other developers to try to push the subject at least, to consider doing a better job of opening the source code.
I think there's also the aspects from the older developers that was kind of before open source was really big, and so they kind of come from a closed source environment, freeware environment.
Yeah, the freeware and shareware world of the late 80s.
Yeah. And now I think it's also kind of the step of, hey, I want to make money off it, which is fair and square. I mean,
yeah,
definitely go for it. The one thing that you mentioned already is that just because you're writing software, that small little thing, and sell it on the App Store, doesn't mean that you're going to get rich.
No. I mean, for me to make Polo free and open source was a way to get more exposure and potentially more money, but because just putting it out there is not guarantee of anything.
And once it's open source and you have a larger community, you can ask for donations too to further the project.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if you're doing that as well.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what we're doing now.
How much you guys get for that?
And I mean, we get lots of people donating $5 here, $20 there, and some people more than that. It's been surprising. And I have the plan of adding like a cloud sync service that will be a subscription based and might even, and I probably make it open source too. I don't care about the blocking it. I want to finish it before I make it open, because trying to coordinate between the client and the backend with an open source and people change. I think it's going to be a messy few months until I get it working, and I want to have it more limited control. I'll probably make it open source anyways. I don't think there's no reason why not to show the dirty laundry as I'm building it. But yeah, I think that there's plenty of ways of making it open source and commercial, in a way that again that guarantees to people that if I stop working on it, somebody else can pick it up.
And to that point, yeah, I do see there's quite a few softwares that's doing like, say, I give you all the source code, you can implement it yourself, or you can say pay for us to host it. So that's how, that's that kind of business models. Yes, it's not like in a conflict with open source.
Yeah, there's a few loggers that are like that, that offer a hosted version. That's proof that it works. And I think that by making it open, also you make it a lot easier for people to join the effort. Like to just like putting a free app on the market doesn't mean that you'll get a lot of users. Making it open source doesn't mean you'll get a lot of contributors. It takes a while. It's a slow process that you have to nurture and welcome them and help them. It takes a while. It's not automatic. But if you don't do it, if you don't open source it, then it's a lot harder to get other people to join the team. That's the thing. There's somebody, Station Master, asking how much of the donations go to the contributors. I try to distribute some of the donations to the contributors proportionally, and I need to send some money to Steve, by the way. I was thinking about that. Steve, if you're listening, I'll contact you and figure out how to do it. I have dreams of doing interesting things with that donation and the contributors, especially things around letting them attend to conferences, helping pay the cost of attending conferences and things like that. Hopefully we'll get to the point where the money is enough to do things like that easily. Right now I'm just trying to get it off the ground, to be honest. Most of the money goes to paying for all the backend services and things like Restream that we use for this live stream and things like that. It ends up being like $300-$400 a month in all the different services I'm paying at this point. Part of it is a lot of those services I'm paying to spend less time dealing with that problem. So the donations have enabled me to change money for time in that sense. But it's reached the point where I can do that decision easily. That I can say, okay, I'll pay for another service to save some of my time and not have to worry about that problem, because of the donations can cover that. And that is a great thing that we've reached at this point. We're very far from the possibility of me living off of Polo, which would be a dream, sure, but it's definitely not on the cards right now, which doesn't mean I'm not working towards that possibility. Like, again, it's kind of thing that will take years to get at. The ham radio market is not big enough to grow quickly. It's not that I can raise money to pay for $1 million in advertising and then I'll have a sustainable project. Gotta just do it slowly and build a community, build the app, and who knows, maybe I'll be able to retire off of it. It would be a fun project. I want to go back to some of the projects that you've given the awards to, and I see that the very first one was the Arduino CW keyer in 2020.
Yes.
Are these projects things that you guys used, and that's how you some of the or some of them have been just nominations that you then evaluate and decide it's worth it?
Kind of a combination thereof. I mean, we definitely evaluate the software and use it to some extent. That have received the awards. And so, yeah, during the CW Kia, that was when I was actually more into learning CW. That didn't flourish. I just did not learn. Wasn't capable. But yeah,
it was not the fault of the CW Kia, of the Arduino.
No, it was not the fault of the CW Kia. And I actually ended up writing a software too for the Android for CW. That one is kind of out of date because I haven't updated, and Android is always changing their framework and stuff like that. So yeah, I think probably it's because that I can focus more on writing code than on practicing CW.
I've been trying to. I've been learning CW, and this year I did my first pod activation. I've done a couple of pod activations on CW, but it's like you said, it's like I barely have time to work on Polo. Like my CW practice, I cannot do an hour of CW practice every day. I cannot do 10 minutes of CW practice every day. So it took me a few years slowly of like random half hours practice times here and there to get to the point where I could try to do an activation. And then you in 2021 you get the award to JS8 call. Was that part of your interest, Kun? You said that you've been interested in digital communications and like the ability to communicate below noise levels, things like that.
Yes, it was one of the contributing factors. I think last year we did get a lot of nominations for that specific project, and at the time, we think it's very interesting on how, like, because the idea of open source is like you can also build upon another project, like how the JSA core is able to build upon another project to make it more useful for a specific purpose. And that's one of the things that we are very interested in lab projects, and we love to see this build upon.
And the next year was Codec 2, which is a big thing because that seems to be one of the main limits on doing an open source digital radio thing. Which I'm surprised at how I have not gotten into DMR or the digital VHF. It's not just VHF, but I don't know exactly how to put it. Digital voice technologies, mostly because there's no DMR repeaters. There's no digital repeaters near where I live. So I don't have, and I didn't want to get like a little Arduino, a little Raspberry Pi, a hotspot just to talk. It was like I don't know. It didn't click with my interests. But I've always wondered, why is it that each manufacturer has their own protocol to do digital voice? Why is it that ICOM and Kenwood have D-Star and Yaesu has Fusion, and then there's DMR and they can't agree? Like, why can't they have a single one?
I think that's one of the things. It's bleed over from the commercial market, like how those vendors make most of their monies selling to commercial vendors, like say enterprise enterprise fleet management or like police radios, and like I think each one of them, they want to have their own proprietary things, so you can't just buy mix and match vendors. So, and then I don't know if those vendors will use like amateur radio as their experimental grounds to test their protocols, where they can demonstrate to their enterprise clients to say, "Hey, buy our radio," right?
Yeah, and or you get people who are hams but also into commercial radio, and they start playing with one of the technologies, and either as hams or in the commercial side, and they keep doing it on the other side. Yeah, but it's I think that's probably one of the biggest barriers to more adoption on the digital radio side. I think that on large cities and big areas, there's always clubs that put up the repeaters and you can use them and you can use the technology. But I don't know, it feels so isolated, so divided when you have a radio that can only talk to 3 of the 20 repeaters in the area, and then another radio that can talk to 2 other repeaters, and then I don't know. It feels so against the ethos of the hobby. It's like I don't know. It's as if ICOM had decided we're going to only do lower sideband radios, and then Kenwood would say we only do upper sideband radios. And
So yeah, so I think now there is one project going on that's trying to develop like the truly open version of the digital voice, and I think
I believe they use the codec.
Yeah, I think they picked Codec 2 at the time. Like we think it's like a very like the Codec 2 is like the foundation of a truly open digital voice protocol, because you need one codec that's free of patents and other restrictions. Yeah,
and I mean there's Free DV is the is a project that tries to do the full implementation. And I mean, I think it's exciting what they're doing. And there's some radios where you can add a hacked firmware that has free DV support and things like that. So I hope it gets somewhere faster. And they got an ADRC grant that's probably speeding up that development, which is very encouraging. Then you did Grid Tracker on 2023, which I mean, I think that if you're doing FT8 and you're not using Grid Tracker, you're doing it wrong, but that's a personal opinion. That's a project that has a good team behind it. Like I said, Tag has been very good at nurturing that team and encouraging more people to join and to contribute. And there's easily a dozen people who contribute code somewhat regularly, maybe 3 and 4 that do it really actively. But it's that's something that a lot of other open source projects don't have. That they're open source, but there's still only one person or maybe two behind them. And like I said, because it takes time to develop the team, to encourage people to come and to join you and all that.
And you kind of need a leadership anyway.
Yes. No, it's for sure. And then in 2024, it was OpenWebRX, which is, I mean, I think this goes back to what you said, that got into the hobby of amateur radio, Klaus, the little SDR devices that you could listen and connect in USB, and the idea of connecting them to the web and letting people use them has been great. I was thinking that
the cool part actually is when other people make that available on the internet, so you can actually check how your
it's the best way to see how you sound. It was very frustrating for me at first when I first started on HF, that I could barely hear myself in any of the SDRs I had near me. Again, propagation is tricky, so you got to learn which one. I was picking some that were too close to me, and on 20 meters will never hear me. But it was frustrating to try to get my signal and not make it anywhere, and try different ones. But that's a super powerful thing to have, to be able to listen to signals anywhere else. It's really, really big. And then finally this year, Ham2 Polo, which I think I really appreciate the recognition, and it was really it was something that again I knew about the awards, and it was in my bucket list of things I wanted to achieve in amateur radio. And I'm not kidding. It was something that I I don't know. It means a lot to me to get the recognition. I think it's because there's a lot of alignment, as we've been talking today, in what you guys were trying to do with the awards, and how I see the world of open source and amateur radio software. So it made me very happy. Let's put it that way. And and I think that it has a lot to say too about the community. A few of them are in the chat today, but like the Discord, the forums, I think that I did see that someone in the community decided to nominate Polo, and then a bunch of people started saying, "Yeah, I'll send the nomination too." There was a bit of a. I hope you were not spammed too badly by them.
That's totally fine. I mean, that's great for us to see that the community is actually supporting the open source project. Yeah. It's not just us that think it's a cool thing. So
yeah, no, that was
definitely do that stuff going forward as well.
Yeah,
next years.
And so the what would you like to see next year in terms of I mean, is it that you just want to find new apps and discover them? Is it what would be for you a great app to find, great tool? Like if I would, I'm trying to with a question to steer the discussion, but if I wanted to win the award, what kind of app should I build? Let's put it that way.
We're not really into the purpose of telling you what app you should be building and ordering them.
Make it open source.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
With a real open source license.
Definitely a real open source license. It obviously has to be actively developed.
Yeah.
So some old application that's not being developed anymore wouldn't be eligible. But if it's an old application and it's still valuable, and we would still consider that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it doesn't have to be an app that was created this year.
No, it does not.
It's just any.
I mean, Polo isn't created this year. When we gave Grid Tracker the award, it wasn't created in that year either. So
yeah. And the have you gone back to the apps you've awarded and see how they're doing, how their communities are doing? Have you done any follow-up?
Not officially a follow-up. I mean, we're kind of using these apps too. So
you get to see.
Yeah.
No, that's good. That's good. If people want to help you guys support the awards, what can they do? Is there a way to? Have you considered getting donations for the prize money?
So if the simplest way to support us is just send us in your donations. And the interesting way we are running the awards is we don't have a grant, or we don't have a fund for money that we award out.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, everybody that's on the committee donates $100 every year, and that money gets combined and is the award prize. Mm-hmm. So we are actually open if somebody would be interested in joining the award committee and actively work with us, that they join as well.
We can talk about that later.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
No, because I think it's a great thing that it's good to encourage and to help flourish and grow. I'm really happy about that and the work you guys have been doing there. You also have a special event stations.
Yes, for fun, kind of.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
So in the fall, when it's our downtime, we pick a week where we just run a special event. Initially we just got one call sign, and we managed to share the call sign so we don't use it at the same time on the same band and mode and things like that. Kun was with us there. That was interesting. Let's put it that way, to manage that. So now we just reserve 3 call signs, 1 for each of us, and then we just go out and activate it as much time as we have and fun we have.
It's the AR and S, right? And I see that you do a different number for the years of the award.
Yep.
You've been
you got this year is the 6th year that we're in, so that's why it's going to be Alpha 6, sorry, 6 Alpha, 6 Sierra, and 6
Yeah.
radio.
Kilo 6 Alpha, Kilo
Yeah.
6 Radio, and Kilo 6 Sierra. And when is that in the fall? You don't have a date yet.
Oh, yes, we should have a date there.
Oh yeah, it is here. November 7th
Yep, November 7th to the 17th.
to the 17th. Excellent.
And we also print out QSL cards, nice
Uh-huh.
ones, and send them out to anybody that sends in a self-addressed stamped envelope.
I should try to work on all this year. I think I might have worked last year. I don't remember. Is with special event stations. Is that if you're using something like Grid Tracker, you see a special event, you don't know what it is. There's, and especially if you're doing digital modes, because if you're on phone, you can hear the person every now and then saying what the special event is about.
Mm-hmm.
But on FT8 or something like that, it doesn't tell you. And even on phone, sometimes you have to stay there. Like if you're working a special event on POTA and you have a pileup, you're not saying every minute what the event is about. You probably are like just dealing with the pileup. It'll be good to have a way to kind of like a spotter network for special events that tells you what the database. The data is there in the special event call sign database, but that's not really easily searchable. And people go on QRZ and update the event, hopefully, but sometimes they don't, and you see the information for the event that 3 events before for that special call sign, and it's
you may have the idea for the next version of the Polo, right?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about how to add that to Polo.
You can pull one by one call sign database, because when we request to use a special event call sign, we have to put in what event it is for.
Right, but that database is not. It's the one I remember is it's kind of like a really bad HTML page that you can search the database and it'll. I mean, if I search for K6A, it's an HTML table with all the entries for the last since 2020 to 2025.
Yeah, the problem there is you don't get the QSL information there either.
Just
one thing that I was thinking of, if you want an idea, it would fit into QRZ really good, is to create a database on date and this one by one call sign, so you can actually find the proper QSL address.
Yeah, I'm surprised that QRZ never figured out how to better handle those special calls. They basically pass through the credentials to the page to the next person who's officially in charge of it, and you have to ask like the customer support to get you the access to that, and it erases the person who was before. And when you go, I've seen cases of people who get access to the QRZ page, and they change the name of the event, but they keep the old address. They don't wipe. They don't really clean the. So it was like an event I knew was something, and the QSL address was something completely wrong. It was like the previous. Yeah,
when we had the call signs that also was used for the 13 colonies, we got a lot of QSL SAS envelopes sent to us that went fast, but for the 13 colonies.
Yeah,
I remember collecting them and sending them off to them.
I do. I mean, I do see that the page for K2A, which is the 13 colonies for New York, has at the bottom of it still has the text for the award, which is a good thing to have kept there. I know the Ken, the guy who runs the K2A in New York. Those special. I reserved calls for the New York QSO party to run in with a short call, things like that. So I've gone through the process, and it's so so cumbersome and so complicated, and then yeah, the data is not well kept in QRZ. That and it's not a new. It's been a thing for decades. You know, it's not a new thing.
Yeah.
But oh well. We'll figure it out. I'll see what I'll try to think what can be done to better show that in Polo. Maybe I can scrape the 1x1 database, or contact them to see if there's a way to get a better copy of that database somehow, instead of hitting the form for the next 2 months. Yeah, I'll look into that. See if there's something that can be done to make it better. I don't know, you guys. I don't know if the chat has any questions. I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to discuss. I don't want to take more time of your Sundays. What are you looking forward to in the world of amateur radio in the next few years? Not about the awards, but like personally. Do you have any?
Faded out there. Can you repeat that again?
Are you looking for anything in particular? Do you have any goals, any interesting projects, anything you're doing with amateur radio for the next few months or years that you're excited about?
I personally, I'm not totally sure if that's one of my goals, but probably travel a little bit more around the state and activating parks. That would be kind of neat. I'm not totally sure if I'm going to do that at all parks in Iowa, but that could be a potential. The other thing is, in the fall, I'm planning on doing more electronics work again.
Uh-huh.
I have a whole bunch of Baofangs and a spectrum analyzer, and I can't use the Baofangs now anymore because I put them on the spectrum analyzer. So one thing is to see if I can build some filters, maybe even tear one apart and see if I can improve there something, because I won't break anything anymore.
How about you, Kun? Any interesting projects coming up?
I haven't done too much recently, but one thing previously I did was like at a time when the Meshnastics comes out, I was trying to see like if there's a way we can use that into the ham world, and besides having it run within the ham bands and disable the encryptions, but if there any other practical use for us for them, and also like trying to figure out, like I just moved, so I'm trying to figure out how to reset up the antenna in my yard. That's another project I have to do.
Yeah. I dread the idea of having to reconfigure my antennas. See, I was complaining about people who get complacent with their setup and say, if it's not broken, why fix it? And here I am talking about my antennas are fine. I don't want to touch them. Yeah. Good. Well, thank you so much for having joined me today. Send my regards to Rich, and that too bad he couldn't make it, but I hope to get to meet him eventually. And again, thank you very much for the recognition in on behalf of the entire Ham2K community, all the people in the chat, all the people in the Discords, all the people around the project. Really, this was very very important for us, and we appreciate it very much. And now we can say we're an award-winning application. I could put that on a big banner on the App Store proudly. No, thank you very much for that, and thank you for coming. And I hope to see you again soon. And same for everybody here who's been watching this video. Thank you for giving us your time. And 73. Talk to you soon.
Congratulations, Sebastian, on the award. Also, thank you very much for building the PUDA logo.
Thank you.
I mean, we definitely have to say thank you. We haven't done that yet. So we both of us have been using it. And You caught me there one time.
Yeah, no, I saw you a couple of days ago. I saw you in the spots,
Yeah.
and I jumped on it and managed to make the contact. That was great. I'll have to look for you, Kun. If not now, when the special event comes up, I'll definitely be looking.
That will be great.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. And 73, everybody.
73.
73.